Hi everyone. So today I'm going to take you through this model answer for a 15 marker on design arguments. So this is on Hume's criticisms, and the title is Hume was right to argue that design arguments fail. Now you're never going to get a question which is pitting Hume directly against Paley's design argument, because of course Hume didn't criticise that directly because Paley came after Hume. But you could well get a question about design arguments in general. And I think in that it would be fair enough to talk about Paley because that's the one you've studied. You just need to make it clear somehow that you know that Hume and Paley weren't alive at the same time. Okay, so this is a 15 marker, AO2. Evaluation is your key skill here. So as we go through, hopefully you'll see how I'm evaluating rather than just stating what Hume's different points are. Of course, you have to do that to an extent, but the main purpose of your essay is to have the argument that you're being asked to have. So here we go. In one sense, Hume does seem to be right to argue that design arguments fail in their effort to prove the existence of the Christian God. For instance, Hume points out that the evidence of design in the universe may indicate a designer, but that there's nothing to confirm the designer is God. It could have been a team of designers or a lesser being than God. So up until this point, I'm saying what Hume's argument is, but I'm doing it quite briefly. I'm not going into a huge amount of detail. I'm not really unpacking it because that's not the skill we're trying to do here. His aim here is to point out that design arguments make too much of a leap. However, Paley responded by arguing that it's simpler to imagine that the designer is God than to devise other possibilities about lesser gods or teams of gods. So I've laid out two sides of the argument there, again pretty briefly, and here's where I'm going to start evaluating it. I tend to agree with Hume here because although Paley is arguing that a simpler explanation is usually more likely to be true, Hume is right to point out that logically it doesn't follow that the designer must be God. So I'm trying to indicate here which side of the argument I'm on at this point. Now that could potentially change and develop throughout the essay, but on the points that I've raised so far, I'm making it clear that my conclusion so far, my evaluation so far, is that Hume's argument is stronger. So let's go on a bit. Furthermore, Hume makes a strong argument to claim that the universe is not like a machine, but is more like a living thing and is therefore governed by natural processes rather than being put together mechanically, which is what Paley seems to be claiming with the analogy of the watch. And then again, straight into some evaluation here. This argument is strong because it's supported by evolution, which is a self-governing process that does not need God to explain it. However, there may be a flaw in Hume's argument because evolution is not self-explanatory. The processes by which it operates could indeed have been put in place by a designer, and for this reason, Paley might have a stronger argument here when he says that the natural processes, for example, of gravity, natural selection, and so on, need an explanation, and a designer God provides this. So you can see I'm going a little bit back and forth between Hume and Paley, but I'm keeping in mind the question, is Hume right to say that design arguments fail? And so what I'm trying to get at in this paragraph is, he might be because he's got a strong argument, he might be right, but it's not a perfect argument because Paley does have a decent response to it. And it's okay to use words like strong, weak, convincing, unconvincing. That's actually what they want, because they want to see that you personally have engaged in this argument and they like to see your voice coming through in how you develop and critique the arguments. It's not really about your opinion, it's about your articulation of the different points and your critical response to them, which is different than just stating an opinion. This is what makes A-level different than GCSE. Okay, third paragraph. One of Hume's strongest arguments is that the presence of evil in the world undermines the existence of a designer. Surely if the designer was perfect, the design would be too. This is a major challenge to design arguments. So make it clear if you think that one of the criticisms is stronger than the others. Make a point of saying that, so I've done that there. But Paley responds by claiming that there may be good reasons for evil and suffering to be designed as part of the universe. We cannot necessarily know what these are, but suffering may be inevitable, and this may be the best possible universe God could have created, for all we know. However, This opens up another criticism from Hume, who points out that knowing how human designers work on something like a watch is not the same as knowing how a divine being would design a universe, and therefore design arguments are anthropomorphic and therefore philosophically unsound. Paley concedes the designer must be metaphysical and transcendent, because the universe could not have been designed from the inside, so it could be argued here that he has no real successful response to Hume. And then, this is probably the most important paragraph, the conclusion. In conclusion, although Hume makes some strong arguments against design arguments, I would not go so far as to say he is right to say they fail completely. So what you want to have in your conclusion is, like I've done here, a clear response to the original statement. Keep thinking about the statement all the way through. The challenges are valid, but it remains true that arguments such as Paley's are strong inductive arguments. They reflect our own observations and experiences, and therefore they feel persuasive. We do experience the world as ordered, regular, and well suited to us. And it's perfectly reasonable to conclude from this that there was a design and a plan that created the universe. It doesn't feel random or chaotic, so we conclude through observation that it is not random and chaotic, and God provides an explanation for this. Therefore, whilst Hume raises serious questions, his criticisms are not enough to conclude that design arguments fail. Now, my conclusion there isn't that much about Hume, but that's okay, because my conclusion is Hume probably isn't right, or he might not be 100% right, and all I'm doing is explaining why I've come to that conclusion by looking at the strengths of design arguments such as Paley's. The strengths of the design argument aren't enough the strengths of the design argument are enough to say that Hume might not be right. Hume doesn't successfully kill the argument altogether. Okay, this might be one of the first ones you're trying to do, a 15 marker on the design argument. Don't worry if it doesn't come straight away, because with time and practice, you'll get better at these. But it's a big step up from GCSE, so be kind to yourself, listen to the feedback that you get on your essays, and go from there. You don't have to be perfect straight away. That would be crazy. All right, I hope that's been helpful. Subscribe to the channel, look out for more videos dropping soon. I'll do a couple more model answers, and I'll take you through some bits of content as well for revision and consolidation. Thanks very much for listening. See you next time.